March 19th, 2024 meeting of the Palm Springs Sustainability Commission is now called to order. Director McCloy, would you please take the roll call?
Absolutely. Commissioner Alexander,
Here.
Commissioner, Vice Chair Barrett,
Present.
Chair Clark,
Present.
Commissioner Cohen,
Present.
Commissioner Daredevil,
Present.
Commissioner Forster, is not currently present. Commissioner Frick,
Here.
Commissioner Graham,
Present.
Commissioner Rottner,
Here.
and Commissioner Walker is not currently present. So we have 8 members present.
Okay, great, thank you. The next item is the acceptance of the agenda. The agenda was sent to the commissioners and posted last Thursday, March 14th. Is there any discussion of the items in the agenda? And I would like to propose moving one item as well. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments about the agenda? What I'd like to request is that we move the one item about the 1 PS picnic from old business to actually right after the chair's comments. Liz Hernandez from Palm Springs Disposal Services is going to be here to help with that discussion. And we just thought that would be easier for her if she didn't have to sit through the longer part of the meeting for doing that. So if it's agreeable to everybody, then we'll move that and we should be here shortly. Is that okay with everyone?
Yep, sounds awesome, thank you.
Thank you. So hearing no objections, the agenda is accepted. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. We have several visitors here tonight, both in the conference room and on Zoom. And for visitors, there will be a time for public comments a little bit later in the meeting. And we have one particular introduction that we were going to make tonight that will be deferred, but I'm sure that our LP will tell us about it when we go through the meeting. Very well said. The next item on the agenda is public comments. This is time for members of the public to address the commission on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. The commission values your comments, but it cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. Are there any people here who would like to make public comment tonight? We have one.
Just one minute, I can't get my timer.
Will do.
Okay.
Hi, commissioners, friends and neighbors. Here just to keep the ball in the air, or the banana as it will be, on the smoke-free Palm Springs, which you've heard me talk about for years and years. So we are trying to make certain that the attention to this continues. We do have a lot of neighbors from our own neighborhood and other meetings that we go to, neighborhood meetings, that still keep asking when's something going to happen, especially multi-unit housing. We do have, we have had some cases such as the Racket Club West neighborhood organization had an annual meeting, and Mayor Bernstein attended, and a lot of discussion came around that, and he expressed interest at that time, especially on multi-unit housing, to consider bringing this forward. So we're going to do some more talking with he and some other council members. There has been talk that once again, it needs to be rewritten, which I don't know how many times we can rewrite this. Bob and I started this when pursuing the smoke-free Palm Springs, either in all or in part, when Steve Pugnier was mayor. That's how long this has been going on. That is enough to make me go bananas. I don't know about you, but I just wanted to share that and keep everyone's awareness of the issue. on the forefront, and we're looking forward to having more interest from city council members. So we'll be talking to them, and if you hear of anything, many of you know us personally, so please let us know if you hear anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any other public comments?
Ready to go.
Right.
Good evening, members. I'm Bob Heinbaugh. Is the name. I'm Bob Heinbaugh. And I'm a resident of Palm Springs. Bottle, glass, and aluminum recycling facilities are insufficient for many residents for the western portion of the valley. I'm under the impression that supermarkets have an opportunity to redeem recyclables. Such as I mentioned when I began. If that's true, why aren't some of them offering recycling options? Just last week, I was at the recycling center in the Smoke Tree area. A gentleman was ahead of me, and when he completed his transaction, looking at my bags of recyclables, he remarked that he didn't know that plastic drink bottles and the like could be recycled. He was only recycling his aluminum cans. I believe that if there is an increase in recycling facilities, such an effort will decrease the frequency of long lines, which are more than the few neighbors have gritched about. I would add that these facilities need increased visibility through public service announcements, advertising, and submitting factual information through the many media outlets available to us. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Bob. Are there any other public comments?
I'll go.
All right. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dominic McCart. I am the former student trustee of Rancho Mirage High School. I wanted to bring some ideas to the Sustainability Commission on public transportation. This valley, when it comes to public transportation, is a nightmare. And I'm glad we have Lisa Middleton helping us out with public transportation. But I would like to see the Sustainability Commission resurrect the Palm Springs trolley. Because that was free public transit in Palm Springs. I know there has been funding issues when it came to the old Palm Springs trolley when people were running it. And then when Sunline was running it, it was, there has been some funding problems with it, but I would like to see that return and expand into areas where Sunline does not serve, like the Indian Canyon and the Tramway. That's where a lot of the tourists go in our city, and if we were to have the trolley resurrected and serve those tourist spots as well as downtown, that'll definitely benefit, as well as the airport, benefit our community and have clean public transportation. So hydrogen or battery powered vehicles as well. So that's all I have for public comment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any more public comment?
Just want to confirm, we don't have any public comment from our Zoom.
Hearing none. Then we'll pass on to the next item on the agenda, which is chair's comments. I have a few things that I wanted to mention tonight. The first one is that, if you hadn't heard, at the city council meeting on February 29th, the council voted against the proposed drive-through Starbucks, which would have been on Palm Canyon and Traffic Club. I had spoken on behalf of the commission at the December 14th meeting, emphasizing the recommendation to do things to decrease traffic, not increase it. And the council had other issues with that location, but after not terribly long discussion, they decided they voted against that. And there's quite a bit of interest in the council, by the council members, of having that area along Racket Club developed more both with housing and commercial facilities. So we'll probably hear more about that in the future, but for now, that proposal was voted down. The other thing that I'd like to bring up is that through a previous member of the Sustainability Commission, our current commission and staff has been offered a tour of the windmills in Palm Springs. This is, through Fred Noble, who, is the owner of Windtech Energy. I've been in contact with, his administrative assistant. Said that, I would bring it up at this meeting and, that the commission, and I hope you're interested, would, come up with a time and day for that. So, I'd like to defer that discussion until the end of the meeting when we talk about future agenda items, but perhaps if you, want to look at your calendar sometime during the meeting. It looks to me like the middle of May might be a good time. April has Earth Day, but, you may want to think about your availability, during May or even in June, and then if we come up with a proposed date and time, I'll get back to Wintech. On February 22nd, there was a Parks Master Plan meeting. Meeting for the public. I think it was the first of 4 that are going to be held between now and the fall. And several members of the commission were there, which I think was great. It'll give us opportunities to make input on some of the things that we've been talking about, like shade structures and bike paths and things like that. So more information will be coming as we go through those meetings. And finally, you probably all have received a notice from the city clerk's office about your Form 700. The statement of economic interests. It's due before April 2nd, which means it's due April 1st. And if you have any questions, please contact Brenda Curry, the city clerk. I think everybody here should have done that already. And if you have, it's pretty easy to update it because the file keeps your information. You just have to update anything or just say it's current. But that is due by April 1st. So that's the end of my comments. Any questions? Comments?
I haven't.
I'm seeing some confused faces about the Form 700 notification. I can double check. Can I get a raise of hands of people who did get the Form 700 notification? Okay.
I got the notification.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I completed it.
Oh, great.
So was that the question?
Yeah, okay, no, I just wanted to make sure, I wanna see who, cause staff, we also had a hard time getting the notification, so I just wanna make sure the information gets to everyone. I'll double check and have them resend that.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you to those of you who've already completed it.
I didn't get it probably because my term is expiring.
No, you still would have to fill it out for last.
Okay, well, I reapplied anyway, so it's,
Okay, we'll double check.
So thank you for bringing that. So this is where we're going to have the discussion about the 1PS picnic. Liz is here. She's not. So we'll move forward in the agenda with the subcommittee report. And the first one is the standing subcommittee on waste reduction. That's Vice Chair Barrett.
okay, I did not get a Scour's waste reduction summary out this month, but because I'm involved in too many things at the moment, but I'm doing it sort of ad hoc. One of the ongoing concerns of Scour is waste reduction in general, collection in public settings, and since we're preparing for the 1PS picnic, who's not here yet, there's not a lot of discussion until we do that. Much of what is related to our general agenda about signage and collection, et cetera, will be covered in our discussion about what we're gonna do with 1PS picnic. So I'm not doing anything with that. Scour also discussed the question of how water issues and water conservation are going to fall within the commission's attention in general. In most of the Scour's commissioners were in agreement that we can't ignore water, that we need to do something about it, but it's hard to figure out what to do about it. And so we sort of advocated that this is actually a commission decision, or maybe it's not. That for now, water stays within Scour, and since it is an issue of reducing water usage. And we'll try to figure out what to do about it. So, and then most of the rest of what we have done in Scour actually come up in LP's report of this week. So, and I'll mention some things when she's going through that. So,
Commissioner Rodman.
I just want to add on to the water committee. I think one of also the big challenges is that in terms of timing to find a meeting, to have an additional meeting, it's kind of, I think, a challenge for the department. Just people being stretched too thin right now. I know, the director's looking to, build her staff. So I think for now, it makes sense to keep I made the suggestion at the Scour meeting, just to keep things moving and get it started. We start there. And then as the team is built out, when there's more staff, and more bandwidth, we can maybe split it out once we've kind of got a base going. So I just didn't want to put more pressure on Director McCoy, just because there's a lot going on. So that was my suggestion, and I apologize, I was supposed to send an email out to the other two members that weren't at the Scour meeting, and I completely forgot, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Chair Clark, if I may, so there is one additional seat on the Scour Commission or subcommittee. So for those members who are interested in jumping in on the water discussions, I know we've got Commissioner Frick and Commissioner Alexander. As Commissioner Rocker mentioned, you know, and you'll hear about this in my report, you may have seen it in my written report, we are bringing on a new staff member who's gonna be running point on commissions and subcommittees here very shortly. So I imagine this is something, a state of play for the next 2 to 4 months, depending on which of the staff we want to wait for. But in the short term, we do have the ability to accommodate at least one additional commissioner on Scour who wants to talk about those issues.
Thank you. See, we're done with Scour and water, so we'll move on to the standing subcommittee on climate action, and that's my subcommittee. The report from the February 14th meeting was in the 21-page agenda packet toward the end. One of the things that was reported there is that in February, we had a presentation from PlaceWorks on the greenhouse gas analysis process. There's more detail there in the report. Also in February, we had the results of the transportation survey, which was carried out at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. And it showed that low numbers of pedestrians and that there are low numbers of pedestrians and bicycle riders in Palm Springs. And so we decided and invited a representative of CVAG, Erica Feltzy, to come and talk about the CV link and discuss the status of the development plan and progress of the CV link. Bottom line is that most of the CV link in Palm Springs will be completed by the end of 2024, a little bit more in 2025. But one of the issues that Erica brought up to us was that there really aren't any planned or many planned access points between the city and the CV link. It's kind of like on ramps and off ramps to and from freeways. There aren't any planned. Although maybe you should qualify that. I know that in the Serena Park neighborhood, the north part of the development, in the north part of Palm Springs, which now I think is passed and it's not going to happen. There was a requirement that they have a spur from the CV link that would have gone out to San Rafael. And I think that Mirror Lawn has a plan for an access point as well by their north entrance. But by and large, there aren't any plans for off ramps and on ramps to the CV link from other parts of the city. So that's something I think that we'll be looking at more in our subcommittee as we go on. We'll probably work with engineering as well. And it turns out that Councilmember Garner is having a District 1 meeting tomorrow. I'm in District 1 and I've spoken to her about it. And and it turns out that most of the CV link actually touches upon District 1 neighborhoods as compared to other neighborhoods in Palm Springs. So I'm going to bring that up to her meeting tomorrow night and perhaps ask people to start thinking of ideas and places where there might be access points to the CV link. And CVAG does have one map which shows potential accesses, but nothing has been done to develop those. So that's something I think that we may see more activity with, along with engineering, as we go further in our subcommittee meetings.
Is there a map? Because I live in Maryland.
Yes,
So where is CV Link going near Maryland?
it's gonna be north of Miramar by, Sunrise Parkway.
That's Maryland.
That's right.
Yep,
So,
that's Maryland.
but it's gonna be,
It's gonna be on that
it's
levee?
gonna be, yes, on the
Okay.
levee there.
Okay,
And several years ago, I had learned that Miramar was going to have an access point because that park there is supposed to be open to the public
it's supposed to be.
during daytime hours. I haven't heard any update on that, but that's something you should check into.
I'll try to find out, because I'll talk to,
Okay,
I'll try to find out.
thank you.
Right.
Yes,
in this discussion about CV Link, there's the CV Link that runs along on the levee. And then the CV Link that comes straight into town. I'm not hearing you mention that.
well, I didn't go into that detail. There's the part in the north, the part that goes in the north part of the town, that's actually going to be completed by the end of this year. I think in 2025, the last portion that goes through Tapwoods Creek will be completed.
Okay, they had planned on it being earlier, but that was a couple of years ago. I guess
So that's the latest information that we got in this update.
I also, I received a copy of the slides. I believe somebody sent it from the department that has a lot of information that you might want to review. You should have all received it, which will be helpful if you have questions.
Just, Specialist Wheeler, could you send that to the Pacific Commissioners? Thank you. We had a discussion about, near-term climate action activities, and one new item came up. And that is, it's specifically related to training for vehicle maintenance, but a broader suggestion about getting more involved with the College of the Desert as it's being developed and perhaps influencing them for sustainability related programs. So that's something to put on our list and think about as we go forward. And finally, we had a discussion about wood burning fires. It was follow on of a discussion we had in our February meeting. And turns out that the South Coast Air Quality Management District has regulations governing wood burning fires. But they don't account for cities in the desert. And so, and that had been pointed out at the previous meeting, but we're gonna look into that a little bit further, try to understand why, and then perhaps broaden the discussion into how we might do things to help improve or notify people about the equality issues within the city. So that's something new on our list as well. And then the report from the March 13th meeting, which was last week, will be in the April agenda packet. So that's it for the subcommittee on climate action. Are there any other comments?
Yes. I wanted to make one comment. The gentleman that actually came up and spoke earlier about the Sunline routes and other projects that we are actually working on. If you go to our agenda, you'll be able to see in the future what we actually have on our pages and pages of stuff. It'll actually show airport expansion, convention expansion, bike routes, Sunline routes, sustainability, transportation planning, all of those projects will be on there that you can actually watch for. There has been a brief discussion about the trolleys, not sure exactly where it's gonna go, but those are different things that we actually have on our plans. Wanted to let you know that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Any other comments or questions? And now we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the director's report. Director McCloy.
Okay, since you all memorized all 21 of our pages this week, I'm going to be quite brief in this particular section. I'm also trying this new thing where I just say one thing as opposed to 7. Just a couple of brief things I wanted to highlight for everyone. If my computer can keep up. with my scrolling. So we are going to be welcoming a new member of the team next month. So there was a moment in where we thought they might have started yesterday. Turns out that was a bit ambitious to complete all the hiring paperwork and do all that stuff. So, they'll be joining us on the 1st of April. And hoping they don't prank us by not coming. It's gonna be a program coordinator who's joining us from LA County with a lot of great event experience, public engagement, is a really kind of, warm and extroverted person, which is great. And so we're looking forward to having that person on board. One of their responsibilities will be taking over the coordination of the commission and all related subcommittees. So things like minutes, posting videos, all the things that I've been kind of scotch taping for the past year and a half. We'll have a person back dedicated to that. And, most of you are new enough to this commission to where you don't remember when we had one of those, but we did, and it was great. So that will be our future. So we will welcome them at our round of April meetings. So looking forward to bringing them along. You'll see there's a number of events coming up, a number of meetings and things that we wanted to bring to your attention. One thing I wanted to highlight that's a really kind of medium-term thing, there's a thing called what we refer to as the SEEK conference, the CCEC conference, which is linked here in the minutes. This is a climate and sustainability staff conference. I went last year, found it to be really educational. It's going to be here in Palm Springs at the Margaritaville Hotel, on June 25th and 26th. I am checking to see what commissioners qualify as, because local government staff get to attend for free. And so if there's any sessions on the agenda as that gets published that look interesting, we'll probably bring this back up at the May or June meeting as that gets a little closer. It's not something that's gonna totally sell out. It'll be all right to register the day of if you want. But we will bring that back up with a specific agenda in case any commissioners are interested in attending. Our team will be there, and there will be a lot of sustainability professionals from across the state who will attend.
Yes, I looked at this earlier and we've already discussed it very briefly. It looks like it would be a fascinating sense to see what other people in the general California area are doing, and probably what we're doing. And it's a fairly manageable thing. It's like an afternoon in the morning. So follow that link that's right there. And you can look at what they do. So that's terrific.
One update to event dates, since we published this, so the farmers market that we're gonna be doing in April is April 20th, which is the weekend of Earth Day. Christian will talk about that a little bit later when we talk about Earth Day, kind of our theme for that one. And most of these other events we are gonna talk about later in the meeting, so I won't spend time on this here. You'll notice from the report, we've been pretty busy. Most of the things that we've been busy with, you'll hear about tonight, so I'm not gonna go into them. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have about any of the items in the report. Does anyone have any questions or areas you'd like to hear more about?
I missed part of what you said, but there was a couple of just minor updates.
Good.
On the section about the water, there's a long LA Times article summarizing what's going on and what change has been made about water demands. I made a copy of it. I can get that to LP if need be. And it notes, by the way, that desert water authorities, even though the state is reducing the demands on many authorities, on Desert Water Authority, they are not. So there's still a demand to reduce usage by 20% by 2030, which is pretty soon, and even more. So I can share that information somehow or with LP. I think that was mainly it.
I appreciate you offering to share that because the regulations themselves are quite impenetrable. We've been doing our best and failing, so.
I was trying to read the regulation and did not succeed.
Oh, it's a struggle.
The rest of it I'll hold to Scott.
Are there any other, actually, there's one other little correction I wanna make here. So there was updated dates. So for those airport watchers among us, so the date for the airport's next alternatives to city council has changed. It's gonna be a little bit later. I believe it's going to the city council in May instead of on April 11th for those alternatives.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was
Yeah.
confused.
well, when I wrote this, it was supposed to be April 11th.
Yeah.
So, but it's not anymore. But so those dates will be updated. Okay, yes.
For the library family fun fest on March 22nd.
Yes.
27th, will there be a sustainability booth there?
Yes, we'll be there. So we are going to, bring back an exercise that we did last year that proved to be quite successful with children, which is giving them markers. Parents hate that, but, it was fun for me. And so we're going to be doing like a drawing exercise to kind of make a big, big paper with everybody's hopes and dreams about nature on it. So we're gonna get to the specifics. It's either gonna be drawing leaves or drawing individual trees and favorite appliances. So that's, if anyone is going to be at the Family Fun Fest, please stop by and say hello.
Yeah, I've been in the past and it's really a fun time.
Yeah, it's a good event.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
No other questions? Okay. Now we're moving on to new business. And the first item, the one item under new business is the Palm Springs Public Library Summer Reading Program request for funds. And you'll see you've seen in the director's report that there was a request from Julie Warren from the library for funding for prizes for the participants in the summer reading program. It was an interesting letter because she went back over the many years that they've had the program, and the commission has provided funds many times for prizes, and they've mostly been bicycles, which are well received by the children and good because they promote exercise and health and so forth. So the request this year is for up to $500 for 2 to 3 bicycles with helmets and locks. And those will be given out at a drawing at the end of the summer reading program, which will be on July 24th. And I've been to that 4 or 5 times, and it's a really fun event because there's lots of children with parents there, and they have submitted their names to go into a barrel to be picked for the prizes, and it's really fun to see that happening. So I think the business for us tonight is to decide if we want to provide funding for those prizes. So I think the first point would be, is there a motion to provide funding for prizes? And then then we can have some discussion about it and then a vote. So is there a motion about providing funding for prizes?
I moved to provide the funding for the prizes for the kids' library, the festival. No,
It's the summer reading
Reading
program finale. So, and an amount, would you? Or shall we discuss the amount? I guess we can discuss the
Yeah, I
amount.
thought, yeah.
Okay.
Have you bought a bicycle lately?
Okay, just hold that.
$500 is nowhere near enough.
Okay, Just
Yeah,
hold that. We have a motion.
Right.
We need a second, then we can have a
I'm
discussion.
seconding.
Okay, second, thank you.
I-
Discussion?
I think what they have done over the years is that with the $500, it sounded like they bought fewer bicycles the more expensive they got. And so we might take that into consideration.
What's the participation level? So I love the idea. I'm for it. Yeah, how do we, what's the participation level? And I got $500 is not enough for bicycles these days. And I look back and I read what the commission has been giving them through the years, of course, missed the 1 year, but I'm like, I know what a bicycle costs.
So, and I don't know what the participation level is, but there are a large number of children of all ages that participated, even some adults. And you see from the request that the different types of bicycles are requested, larger bikes and even maybe a tricycle. So, there is a lot of interest in this program.
So we have Commissioner Rotner and then Commissioner Durda. And then Commissioner Durda.
My question regarding the funding is, I would think that the Sustainability Commission is not the only one they're asking money for. So it's probably other groups, right? I agree that $500 is not enough, but I'm assuming they're probably asking everyone, I personally donate to the library a lot, and we always get requests for money, so.
In the past, like the Friends of the Library have donated money
Yeah.
for prizes, and those are usually the trendy electronic games or devices at the particular time, and the bicycles have strictly come from the Sustainability Commission in the past.
Commissioner Jewel?
Just a couple of things, just by Googling bicycle, I mean, we're talking about kids, so it's about $150, $200 for a bike, so if you wanna do 2, 3, yes, it would not be enough. But what about having, like, let's say, businesses to sponsor something, you know, like Palm Springs Bicycle, like, you know, cycler, you know. Or, I mean, I don't know what kind of budget would that be, but if it's not enough, you know, having.
But it's something we certainly could convey to the library staff
Yeah.
as well.
To invite like businesses, or something to cover up some of the costs of bicycles.
Commissioner Barrett, and then Commissioner Alexander, and then Commissioner Cox.
Okay, for various reasons, some of the same ones as, Commissioner Eric. I can't see your license. Concerned about cost and availability. And also I'm concerned about bikes in terms of they have a high thieving rate, high theft rate and things like that. I was thinking it would be better if we gave something that was less expensive and we could distribute around more people. For example, this is just a coincidence, a pass or a family pass or something to the zoo, to the Living Desert Zoo. I mean, we could cover more people. It covers environmental issue concerns, that sort of thing. I don't know exactly how we would mechanically go about that, but that seems to be one direction that could be taken that would provide more exposure and have a similar goal and also less risk of it getting stolen or something like that.
Or they're trying to keep it within Palm Springs. Yeah.
Well, it goes to Palm Desert, that's.
Commissioner Alexander, and then Commissioner Cox.
So I like your idea, of Living Desert, but the thing is, the Living Desert provides a lot of school, meetings out there. I was just out there like
Right.
15, so it's kind of something the children may have already gone to. But I was thinking with the bikes, maybe it would be good to get a company like Target to donate, be a good corporate member of the community. To go to them and say, can you donate X number of bikes?
Sponsor an event or something, Palm Springs Cyclery,
Yeah.
that one by, Indian Canyon, where. They're gonna go store, but anyway, yeah. Anyway,
Commissioner Cox.
They've been having this event for years and it seems like it's fairly well organized and for us to wade in and maybe change what their goals are. I'm not so sure that's a great idea. I like the idea of the tricycle because that could be for a disabled youngster. And so that would be a high priority in my view.
Did we have any other hands that I missed? Commissioner Walker? No, I think. Okay, Grant and Walker, yeah.
Love this whole thing. And I do agree that they probably have this program set, and that's why they give those specific bicycles away. Yes, the money, I think it's a 100% thing that we need to do. I think we're gonna ask them to do more outreach with us and give us a little more information for future. Plus, I would love for somebody to call. Target's not in Palm Springs, but there are businesses in Palm Springs I know that are out
But
there.
they would be good
Yeah.
corporate.
True, but there are other businesses in Palm Springs I know that would jump in, but they haven't heard about it. Thank you.
Commissioner Walker?
I love all these ideas. Basically, we can throw in some other thing like matching dollars. Maybe if we raise certain things or if library themselves raise certain things, certain amount of money, we can match what they raised for the bicycle. So we are not taking the whole chunk or, I mean, we can explore all the ideas, but having, giving matching dollars will be also a great alternative. If they say it's gonna cost us $1,000 to buy these bicycles, if they raise 500, we will match those dollars up to a certain amount.
Chair Parker, if I may just add two logistical items.
Yes.
I don't want to weigh in on the discussion because this is great discussion for the commissioners. So we have like a little carve out in the budget for sustainability commission sponsored things. We do have the ability to increase the amount of money if the commission decides they want to contribute more this year. I would say somewhere south of $1,500 would feel okay. $25,000 is not the amount, that we have. But, you know, maybe that's a sort of like a future planning. If that's something we want to contribute $25,000 next year, then we need to start talking about it. The second piece I will say is that, so we've been also working with Julie and her team to contribute to the summer reading program. It is a fairly baked program for this year, because they're really on the ball. They're the library, they kind of start real early. But I think they may be receptive to some suggestions for future programs. So I think at this point, they're pretty locked in with what they want to do. But may be open to a discussion and Julie has offered to come have a discussion here in the future if that's something that we want to do. So just to summarize, we do have some additional funding if we want to increase that up to the commission, of course. And then maybe some of the bigger ideas we might want to save for the future, just logistically speaking.
Thank you. I was gonna ask about budget as well. And we seem to have made an assumption that we could spend your money. with the department's money.
You can, it's okay. Just not all of it.
Thank you for that. And I did indicate to Julie as well that sometime in the future, we'd like to have her come and speak perhaps right before the event or right after the event, just to let us know how it goes. So is there any more discussion?
How much money is available for sponsorships this year?
So I'd have to go back and look at the specific account because I didn't refresh my memory on it. I would say we could probably, this year, we do have like a little bit more flexibility than we might have in future years. I would say probably 10 to 20K total this year would feel pretty safe. I think maybe as we get to the turn of the fiscal year, that's a conversation I'd like to have with this commission for planning for next year, and we can kind of carve out what that is. And then the commission can kind of know and work with that number over the course of the year. So if we wanted to go above 1,500, we could. I mostly just wanted to make sure we didn't get a $100,000 ask.
So as it stands right now, we have a motion and a second for providing $500 for bicycles, and we've had, you know, considerable discussion. So, is there any interest, and there've been other suggestions, so is there any interest in amending the motion? Either by amount or by what we propose? I think I think the point is well made that the library has this well planned at this point, and perhaps suggestions could be for the future, might be more effective if we made suggestions for the future, but you've all many of you have made comments, and so, you know, we're really open to whatever the final motion is and vote. So would anybody like to amend the motion, or would we like to vote on the motion for $500?
Make a motion.
We didn't say the motion was for 500, we just said we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I stand corrected, that's right. I asked you.
I shut my mouth up, but.
I asked you about that. I said,
Right.
we could discuss,
Or we could amend it.
we could discuss the amount,
Yes.
which we did.
Do I ask for my phone amendment to my parliamentarian? Anybody? I'm gonna amend it and suggest the $1,500.
I second that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do we know that the library actually needs more money? Well, I think we're doing a lot of assuming, I think we're doing a lot of assuming.
So.
Because we do outreach to,
We could, and so what we've often done in the past is we've authorized up to a specific amount.
okay,
So if they decide they wanna spend it, they can, and they basically will just invoice me for how much they spent. So they don't necessarily need it, but we could authorize a little bit more in case we wanted to give them that, but it's good, and we can. check.
I'm happy that that we're all, I think we're all on the same page of, let's get people bikes, but if they're not gonna spend it, then.
Right, well, then we can just kind of hold on to it and use it for something else. But yeah, fair question, we can confirm.
have they asked for money in the, like, have we given them money in the past years?
Yes, so we've sponsored
Every
the
year.
bikes pretty much every year. We didn't do it last year because they didn't do the bikes last year. They took a different approach, but pretty
And
much.
was that always $500?
No, it's been a variety of different amounts, so it's gone up as high as 1,200 in the past that we've offered.
And they've done a good job of finding bargain price bicycles and actually getting more than they originally planned, so.
Yeah.
It's been consistent over the years in terms of, us providing funding and they're buying several bicycles.
I have a question. Is this funding coming out of the annual event sponsorship funding or this funding is separate?
So we have kind of like a funding amount. We basically in the budget, it's like money for library bikes is basically what the category is called. But it's like more than the $700 for that, but that's basically an event sponsorship budget that we have. It's kind of earmarked a little bit for some of these requests.
Okay, and every time when we sponsor this event, we just give the money and we make sure that the bikes are purchased and distributed. Other than that, if the bikes are still in action or stolen, we don't have any of that information and we don't
I don't
necessarily
believe
look
so.
for that.
I don't believe we've requested that in the past.
Okay, we just give it and leave it there.
Yep. Leave it up to the individual to use it as an issue.
But I think that's one reason why they purchase locks,
Right, locks and helmets, yes, are usually given with the bikes.
so.
Actually, then I have a friendly, hopefully a friendly amendment, that we request in the future a report on how many went, where they went, the success of it, if they want to consider something else, some sort of assessment from them.
And we certainly can have Julie come and tell us about that, but I think if any of us go to the event,
Mhm.
we'll see
Okay.
firsthand who got the bicycles. So the motion is up to
Good.
1,500.
I revised the amount and stated as, not to exceed $1,500.
You made a second,
Yes, I second that.
so that's the motion that we provide an amount not to exceed $1,500.
For bicycles.
For the bicycles. Okay. Are we ready for a vote? Any more discussion? All in favor of providing, funds not to exceed $1,500 to the library for the summer reading program? Raise your hand. Opposed? Motion is carried unanimous. Thank you very much. And I'll notify Julie.
Thank you.
Next we'll move on to old business, and the first item on the agenda is tree ordinance update. And that's sustainability specialist Wheeler.
Sorry, everyone, either I should, I didn't ask on this. Actually, maybe it's better for you to, are you able to take a picture? We're just gonna switch our screen share.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to give you guys an update, to the tree ordinance that I had brought back in October, I believe. So it's been a little bit. So we worked with, some of the other departments, and kind of formulating the draft and everything. So a little bit on the background, which I brought up before. This is the implementation item goal from the 2016 Sustainability Master Plan, in the urban forest and natural system section. So there are 3 goals within that. One was to adopt a tree protection ordinance. Another was to become a tree city by 2020 and continually replace urban trees that have been removed or died. And then in addition to this, with the new state water regulations, they kind of put something in the regulations that you know, if you have climate ready landscapes or a tree city, you can allocate more water to landscaping, and so this would help us with that. And so the main goals of this ordinance, to limit the removal of trees, prohibit and discourage certain practices, establish a class of protected trees, and establish a removal and replacement process. So working with the other departments, we've reached the scope of public trees, so those in parks, public properties, medians and parkways, and public right of ways. And for private trees, those would be commercial properties, multifamily and HOAs, essentially any property that has to do an improved landscape. So this would kind of exclude single family homes that are not part of a HOA. And so what's prohibited under this ordinance would be harmful behaviors that are detrimental to the tree. So things such as tree topping, excessive pruning, girdling, and poisoning, and then also unauthorized removal of trees. So you need to kind of go through a authorization process, then also leaving tree stumps would be prohibited. So within the ordinance, it also establishes protection for the trees, so we would establish a class of protected trees. So those could be trees with heritage or cultural significance, so think like the California fan palms, the ones with the skirts. Trees with a certain diameter of at least 12 inches or greater, and then any tree designated for protection during the review and approval process of a project. And then also this would establish tree protection during development, so whenever someone's doing construction around a tree, they would have to establish a tree protection zone around the critical root zone. So that's kind of what's on that image right there at the top. And then we would also require an arborist report / appraisal for the trees, just saying like what their health is, so you know, if someone wanted to remove a tree and it looks like the trees are dying, then maybe that might be, you know, it would make it more okay for them to replace the tree than us, you know, fighting it. Okay, and then so for replacement, the ordinance would also require the replacement of trees removed. We would ideally have a formula of 2-to-1, so 2 trees planted for every 1 removed, and possible 3-to-1 ratio for very large trees or very significant trees, and this would have to go through an authorization process, so most likely through planning. So city roles and responsibilities, so Public Works would oversee all the public trees, they would be responsible for the care, maintenance, and removal, replacement of all public trees, which they already do, and, you know, public properties and parks and medians. Planning would oversee the privately owned trees on properties with approved landscapes. So they would be the ones kind of enforcing and improving the removal and replacement of these trees on privately owned properties. Excluding the single family homes, of course, that are not part of an HOA. And then code enforcement would be enforcing the ordinance, so giving out violations for things such as tree topping, excessive pruning, you know, dead and decaying trees, which they already are able to enforce, you know, trees, weeds, and shrubs that are public nuisance in our current code. And then for our next meeting, we would be asking for, you know, your support, because we will be bringing this to council. And then as far as next steps, so right now it's currently being reviewed by the city attorney. So once it's reviewed with the city attorney's team, we will be sending it out to you guys. And we also will be taking it to the planning commission to go have a study session with them. And then after that, it will go to city council. So any questions, comments, or thoughts?
Commissioner Alexander and then Commissioner Grant.
So in terms of empty lots, that possibly a single family house would go on, but there's nothing there, where does that fit into it? Because we got some of them up in the northern part of town. How are they in?
Like something that would not be part of an HOA, right?
Right.
So right now that would be excluded, from this ordinance. Unless it was a nuisance, because those are already in our ordinance.
Okay, so if it's an empty lot, but there's a nuisance tree on there, then.
Okay, yeah. But right now, that's something we would think, you know, later to amend, but right now we kind of want to limit the scope so that it's not too overwhelming.
Okay, thanks.
So Commissioner Graham, and then we'll have Vice Chair Barrett.
Thank you. You've been working with, planning department, code enforcement.
We haven't met with them yet. We will be meeting with them, but also planning,
Okay.
public works.
And, police department,
No, we have not.
that will be presented with them in the future. Because of. Interesting. This is actually kind of this whole thing is a huge amendment to the present code, correct?
Would be an addition for,
In addition to it, not an
Yeah.
amendment.
Yeah, it's in addition, a lot of it is codifying a lot of the best practices we already try to do.
Right.
But yeah, it would be a significant addition, yeah.
And when is this presented to council?
so once we get it, back from the city attorney's team, we'll have a study session with the planning commission. And then it will go after that, so I don't know what our timeline is.
I'm shooting for before the summer break, so probably sometime in June.
Study session would be,
Study session would be in the coming month or two, so April or May.
and who else participating in the study session?
So that's intended to be a planning commission study session, but members of the public are welcome to attend. I have never worked on a planning commission study session, so I don't, if we could do a joint one if that was desired, between these two commissions. I know that's been done in the past. We can maybe look at that if that's something of interest. But if there are other people and individuals, I've already noted that we should meet with the police department. We do have code enforcement on our calendar to meet with.
Right.
If there's anyone else you think needs to be involved, those are great suggestions for us to have from this commission as well.
Parks and Rec? Maintenance?
So, yeah, Public Works and Facilities
Oh,
handle,
absolutely.
oversees all of that, and so they've been really involved in the.
They've
development
worked-
of this.
okay, you're
Yeah,
right,
they've
you're
worked on
right.
this,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I think covered pretty much everybody. Have I? I think we're pretty-
Yeah, Commissioner, Vice Chair Barrett, and then Commissioner Dick.
Okay, it's good work. If the microphone's on, it's good work. Good, I'm glad to see this. I had a couple of, hopefully minor questions. In terms of, historic trees that people consider historic, what if they're, non-native and problematic? For example, tamarisk or eucalyptus. There's a lot of both here, and there's a lot of palm trees. Which should not be preserved. So do we have, is it set up that way so that we can not be preserving what people think are historic trees but are problematic?
Yes, so in the actual ordinance, there is a section that outlines, excluding invasive species. So the tamarisk is one considered by I think it's the California Plant Council.
Okay,
As highly invasive, so something like that would be excluded. Not necessarily non-native, because there are a lot of drought tolerant non-native species that aren't invasive, so we kind of wanted to avoid using, the term non-native, because we do plant in the city a lot of non-native. Yeah, but yes, we are avoiding invasive species specifically within the text.
okay. And then my other question was, is there any way in this to have something that encourages more planting? I mean, because a lot of this is about regulating what's existing, but like, how do we take a nice, large vacant lot and say, let's somehow use this to encourage making that into a forest?
So partly the goal for this is that, with the zoning code update that, essentially some stuff from this could be pulled in that, so there is something like establishing a preferred species list for the city, like that we would codify as like something that would be put into the zoning code, update or something like that, which they already do kind of have a water efficient landscape guideline that they follow, or that they try to get residents to follow.
Yeah, but new developments, I think, looking at making sure the zoning code update is harmonized with the goals of this, that would be a great way for us to continue to encourage planting of new trees. There's also the 2-to-1 replacement ratio as well, which Christian mentioned. If you take out a tree, you got to plant it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some HOAs that don't have a lot of trees and aren't going to put any more in, and how would we encourage those? That may be something separate from this, that may be a task down the road separate from this. And then there's the thing of Metropolitan Water District along the same lines, providing money for encouraging planting. We actually use Metropolitan Water District water but we don't acknowledge that. So I don't know if we can tap into that or not. Enough from me.
Commissioner Duran?
Pretty much what Commissioner Sun mentioned, what if the tree is problematic or when it needs a lot of water or, you know, it's more invasive? Will there be a rule to basically help out in removing that tree instead of telling them, oh, you have to now build another two? By really doing us a favor and removing that problematic tree, that is either dying or, but the other thing is I guess maybe that's more of a planning commission issue. It's like, is this gonna push back in development and urban development that a lot of us need and then, you know, in the long run? Whether, you know, in the parks or up doing something or expand anything. I mean, obviously you don't wanna always kill trees, but you know, that's what happens with urbanization. You're moving something there and you're building it where it's needed. So just another thing to consider.
Yeah, we kind of kept that in mind with the ordinance, so it still has, you know, different processes, so if there is a new development and there are trees, you know, essentially they would get an arborist appraisal report, because, you know, just looking at a tree, you might assume that it's healthy. And, you know, we found out with other things that the trees weren't as healthy as we thought, and, you know, we probably should replace them. It would be more advantageous for us to properly plant them, things like that, so that was taken into consideration for this.
And I think one of the things that I think will be helpful here is helping to codify some of those processes up front. So instead of getting kind of halfway down a process or toward the end of it and then realizing, oh wait, we actually wanna maybe not do that. Like having this be a sort of a clear regime going forward, I think will help reduce some of that uncertainty, which can lead to timeline creep. It's sort of our. I think I saw a hand. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious in some of the tensions between the water usage and planting more trees. Because we're hearing two different things. We're hearing that we have to cut water by 20% or 25%. And water rates are gonna zoom up, so, you know, when people have to plant 3 trees, it takes more water. So what are some of the issues kind of around that for the future?
Well, there's a lot of different, I mean, also depends on what trees you plant, but there's a lot of different, you know, kind of charting. Because, you know, larger, older trees really don't need as much water. It's really the younger trees, so when we're first starting planting, it's really making sure that we're planting in the, you know, the right season. And, you know, the right area as well, so that's really when they're at their most high water. I mean, it's still way less water than grass at the end of the day. And it's really, you know, thinking about, you know, do we wanna plant 5 barrel cactuses or, you know, a tree? And cause regardless, landscaping and planting are gonna require plant cover for, you know, their plants.
Yeah, I just think of Tucson as an example, because they have very strict planting regulations. You can only plant like a mesquite tree, you know, within, you know, 25 feet of your house, and then after that, it's all natural desert landscaping. Because trees do take water, like in my property, we have a lot of trees and we use a lot of water. It just to keep them alive, we have a big pine tree and, you know, lots of palo verdes and stuff. And so I just think that's an interesting discussion to have in the future about, you know, we need to cut water. We're looking at, you know, cities in Arizona that have a lot of very strict no planting regulations. I love trees. I like to have a huge, you know, urban forest in Palm Springs. But the whole water situation and planting, there just seems to be this tension there that we're constantly dealing with.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you hitting that nail on the head. I mean, it is kind of I mean, all of these things would be easier if like Christian and I could just decide what everybody put in their backyard, right? Like if we could just come in and control it and just be like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna save the water for the trees and you've gotta plant these kind, you gotta plant in this place. I think trying to figure out the right encouragement balance, because we're really seeing shading and urban heat island mitigation as a really major component, especially of our active transportation work, but also just the general livability here in Palm Springs. So how do we maximize the nature-based resources that we have to continue to mitigate the increased heat in our community and make the community feel like more livable and walkable? But I agree with you that it's gonna be a really difficult challenge, and we'll have to be pretty, and so I think we'll have to probably get some more data on this too, whether that's, you know, just from individuals or working with the water agency, just to kind of help us continue to refine those recommendations over time, because, you know, like we're seeing with the water rules, I mean, we're in a game of inches with how much water we have to cut. Because we have to cut so much, we're really gonna be having to be really specific about what water uses we do preserve. So I think, kind of to Christian's point, you know, a lot of what we wanna do with this ordinance is preserve those mature trees, so that we're not cutting down the mature tree if we have the option to keep it, because it does use less water over time. But then figuring out how we're prioritizing the water use in our landscaping for shade providing, you know, beneficial to the ecosystem trees. But yeah, well, I think we should continue to have this discussion, yeah, for sure.
I just want to kind of pick up on your comment that if I just go walk around the block or see the trees, a landscaper or a gardener who comes to the house to do the gardening work, they just like to make everything look nice. They don't wanna leave that layer of ground cover like Kristen is talking about. They don't wanna leave a leaf that dried, which can prevent the soil from drying up or water from evaporating. So there needs a lot of education, is like, you want to keep the tree, but are you having a bubbler right next to the trunk of the tree? Or as the tree is aging, maturing, you want to water it around the drip line. So many people don't have that idea, and landscapers does not have that knowledge. So I see that as a huge knowledge gap, rather than saying, we can pass the ordinances, but if we are not somehow filling the knowledge gap, there is the issue. So I think, again, reaching out to College of the Desert and see if they have any programs, or suggesting, hey, we need a program for arborists or landscapers to kind of know how a tree functions. It's not just you come with a electric or a gas powered chopper and chop the tree, top it off. Can you prune a tree without killing it for the next year? Those are the things I'm looking at, like, none of the trees in our city are pruned properly. They're just chopped in a way where they just chop them off. And many people are thinking, oh, that's the way tree is supposed to be, because that's how it looks everywhere. I would say that's my suggestion. If we can get people to use mulch, that's great. If not, instead of having one bubbler for your 20-year-old tree, have a drip tape or drip system around the drip line. And one more question, when we are talking about the development, are we talking about residential developments only or business developments? Because business can be a very good place where we can kind of have demonstration places.
We'll
take Chair Clark and then Commissioner Alexander.
Just have a minor question. There's been some discussion recently within the city council about the palm trees and the brown parts and whether or not those should be trimmed. And I know there's historical issues there, but does that bear on this at all?
No, I mean, I did look at the resolution about the tree trimming, but it doesn't really touch that. I don't know if it's something that we want to touch at the moment, you know. I see we're talking about the California fan ones.
Yes.
Yeah, it currently doesn't really touch that.
Okay, so it's something the council has dealt with. Thank you.
However, they could decide to deal differently,
Yes.
in which case this might change. Commissioner Alexander.
So I liked your idea about landscapers, because I see all these independent landscaping businesses. I'm definitely not an arborist or anything. I don't know if they're cutting our tree right, or have no idea. And I think these folks start up these businesses, they come in, people don't know and say, yeah, do whatever you need to do. So I think maybe how expensive that would be, there might be some kind of training or regulation of these folks before they go out and hit people's yards, because it's gonna destroy what you're trying to do.
I just want to add on that, like, if we needed to get more information, I can get the professor of natural resource conservation from College of the Desert to kind of weigh in on those working groups and take what professor's take, because he's been teaching it for a long time. So when I had a talk with that professor, he's like, we don't want to take out those palm fronds because that's how our owls nest and we need them. We don't wanna remove those brown parts from the palm trees, from native palm trees, because that's where owls and other birds are nesting and we need that. So maybe having a qualified person in the room during those working groups will add a lot more to the discussion.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, well, you all will be seeing this one more time when we have final text. We will keep everyone updated when we schedule the study session with planning. You'll probably see text before we schedule that study session. And so either if subcommittees want to discuss it, or we can have another discussion at a future meeting in which we will ask for your kind of position and recommendations, but please feel free to send any other questions or suggestions to Christian. And also just want to commend Christian on his first ordinance draft. Thank you, Christian. Great job. And thank you all for your feedback today. Okay.
Thank you all. The next item then under old business is the foodware ordinance, and that's Director McCoy.
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna try one more time to share my own slides this time. And I also will apologize to mostly my team who are really good at designing slides. I'm bad at it, so my slides look goofy. I believe so.
I was gonna say what slides for them.
Okay, so here we go. So I'm gonna try to be discreet here. As soon as I can get the slideshow to come up. So we've talked a little bit in subcommittee about this, and I believe have mentioned it a couple of times here in this meeting as well. We would like to propose an update and expansion to the foodware ordinance. So we've received a couple of requests from members of the community, from members of the city council, from members of the commission, and questions as to why polystyrene coolers, so like basically the uncoated like white styrofoam, little drink coolers, or, my brother used to go fish on when he went fishing, but those kind of coolers are still allowed to be sold here in the city. So we did have a question early on in ordinance implementation time as to whether they were actually included in our existing text under an interpretation of the definition. Turns out they aren't. And so we're coming back with a suggestion to add that into the foodware ordinance. To kind of make it, I guess, more complete. So thinking about all of the ways in which we're using polystyrene foam for food and food conveyance. Also wanted to talk a little bit about where we're at with my war on foam. So I'm gonna be reading. So first I wanted to give a huge shout out to Commissioner Ronner, who really was helpful in pulling together the research and some language for this. So thank you so much, Commissioner. Helped us pull some great examples of other cities who've incorporated similar language. So it turns out most cities that have a food ordinance have this thing in it. So we're thinking this is gonna be a pretty straightforward fix, and it is relatively consistent with our existing framework. There's one thing that we did note from a number of the ordinances, so you will find polystyrene foam in a lot of durable insulated things. So like if you think about the big, igloo coolers, like the hard plastic ones and things like that, a lot of times they're using polystyrene as a major insulating material. We don't at this time plan to exclude those because we'd have to be drilling into coolers to figure out if there's foam in it. I'm not doing that, so if you guys want to, you can. I will not. So we're gonna mirror a few other ordinances in specifying that the coolers that we're looking for are those ones that are not encased in a durable material. So did some quick estimations at a few stores. About 75% of the grocery or dollar store, convenience stores, whatever, do sell some quantity of these. They're not selling a lot, but they do have, 6 on the shelves or something like that. Not all of the stores, but a number of them, because they're not prohibited right now. So one of our major next steps pending outcomes of this conversation is to reach out to those businesses and let them know that this is going into the same framework. They'll be allowed to sell out their existing stock, but that these will no longer be allowed to be sold here in the city of Palm Springs should the city council approve it. So we want to kind of do that outreach to understand if anybody's got a real, if one store is, they swear to God, only selling them for organ transplants. So I guess there's not really that much I can say about it, but most of these are being used for food and beverage. And then in terms of updates, so this is one of those things that I've always wanted to be able to spend my entire month working on. We are working on hiring a waste specialist, so I know I mentioned that we're bringing on our program coordinator soon. We will have one final member of the team who we're budgeted for thanks to the commission's advocacy, joining probably sometime in the summer. And so at that point, you know, this is gonna be a major part of that person's work to really kind of hit the field. We are gonna be able to leverage a little bit of consulting resources to help us in the next couple of months, so that's great to help us with that. But so we've been pretty successful in our foam whack-a-mole. We have like 4 entrenched foam diehards, and they're not budging. And I'm really trying not to find people because I really don't want to, but they are really forcing my hand. And so thank you to many of you on this commission who've reported a lot of those people to me. We really, you know, every once in a while we'll get a couple other ones, but it's really 4 who are bad actors here, who have been notified. And we also need to figure out the best way to support Village Fest vendors in helping them move away from these projects. So we've had a couple ideas, nothing's quite taken root yet. That's something that I think really is gonna benefit from a lot of dedicated time, which I'm gonna try. I'll come back to you in just 1 second, because maybe I'll answer your question, but finishing. Will benefit from more time, which I'm trying to figure out how to allocate either through mine, consultant or waiting for Army staff. And then finally, we're going to move on from the war on foam and expand the war to, well, I need to demilitarize my metaphors, expand to other product areas. So one of the main things that this ordinance also requires is reusable items for on-site dining. A lot of restaurants do this pretty well in Palm Springs, not all of them, but a lot of them. So I think expanding to really start looking for those places where you're intending to dine in and you were never offered a reusable option, you know, it's different. I'm not coming after somebody if you order a to-go cup because you think you're gonna drink half of it and then you drink the other half later, but you sit inside and you end up drinking the whole thing. Like, that's not really what we're looking for here. It's really, you know, often you'll see this in like fast casual type of places or, you know, places where they're really just only giving you disposable. There's no reusable option. And then also single-use plastic bags for carry-out, takeout, and or leftovers. So those are not allowed. Those are pretty prevalent. That's one of the next things that we want to start looking for. So I will kind of put those bugs in this commission's ear. As you see those things, I would say commissioners, feel free to just send them to me directly, but it's because I haven't worked through this expansion with code enforcement yet. But I'm trying to get a sense of where this is happening. And I don't go to every restaurant that there is. So would be helpful to know kind of, are there places that are doing really well with reuse for on-site dining? Are there places where you're definitely eating on-site and they give you all disposable items? Or single-use plastic bags? That, I think the bags is the bigger one, but you know, we're kind of looking for those things. So that's pretty much all I have. Oh, I did that pretty sure. Okay, so I will now take questions, which I know there were a couple, so Commissioner David.
It was just a comment. I was visiting a friend at Desert Regional and I was surprised they were still using it, so.
They're not supposed to be doing that. They
No.
told me it was on January.
They were still using it as of 2 days ago.
Thank you for letting me know.
I mean, like, you would think all the patients, I mean, like, that's a
Right.
lot.
It's a
not just
lot
the
of
restaurant.
stuff. And so, yeah, we've actually talked to them a couple of times. We were really trying to help focus on the employee cafeteria. Based on my understanding of their operations, they were using a decent amount of reusable stuff, except for specific cases where certain patients, they didn't deem it was safe for them to have, non-disposable items, which there is a healthcare exemption in our ordinance for like health and safety, but it's pretty narrowly drafted. It's good to know. I'll have to drop that. Thanks for letting me know.
Reported it,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
I'm not sure how far it's gonna go.
That's a good question. It usually comes to me pretty quickly, so I'll check with them on that. Thank you for that. What other questions? Yes, Commissioner Walker.
When we are talking about single-use items, plastic bags, still there is a lot of gray area, right, with the compostable bags coming into the market, so.
Are you seeing that compostable bags are being used for carryout? Because I don't feel like those are fit for purpose. I feel like they're not gonna be likely to be handed out for that, because they're too flimsy.
I haven't seen them, but I went to a conference where I saw like vendors kind of promoting, oh, this single-use bag is made out of sugarcane pulp.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I just wanna make sure like we have a clear idea on, are we focusing on single-use plastic bags that are like P1, P2, P3, those numbers? Or you're saying, hey, even if it's a single-use compostable bag, we don't want to see it because it's single-use?
That's a great question. I'll have to go back and check the text as to how that's defined in the text. I think our goal as a city is to move away from single-use items. But in terms of what is enforceable, I have to check the text. But thanks for the question. Let's do Commissioner Ratner and then Vice Chair Grant.
I just had a question, because this happened in San Francisco with the single-use bags, is the thickness?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's also a challenge for here.
So it is because that's actually like a weird statewide loophole. So there's actually a number of bills that are going before the state legislature this year that are attempting to close that loophole. So, basically what Commissioner Ratner is mentioning is the fact that you often see at stores what are sold as reusable bags, which are like very obviously disposable plastic bags, but they're a little bit thicker, which does make them more reusable, but people aren't really reusing them. They're just buying 12 of them. It's like, you don't need to reuse that many. In our current ordinance, I don't remember whether we have like a ground thickness that we define in this ordinance as for single-use plastic bags. We're still mostly seeing the thin flimsy ones, in terms of just what we see on rock, but, that's something that the state is hoping to close that loophole and make it a bit more consistent.
I know like Jensen's and Ralph's, their bags that they provide are kind of that same thickness. I don't know if that. And I know this is food where, but did that fall into the catch?
Good question. So I think her ordinance doesn't, and I gotta check the specific wording because I didn't read it for that today. I think our ordinance does not address grocery store bags because there is the state grocery store bag regulation. And I think if we tried to address it, we might get hit with a preemption issue and someone could sue to overturn it because the state preempts us. So I try to avoid those generally, but hopefully that will get corrected at the state level because that would then address it across all of the verticals. Vice Chair Gray.
I've said this before, I've seen lots of reversal. We were using, we were using either metal or recyclable, and now a lot of places are going backwards to using plastic. Is cellophane, not cellophane. Not cellophane. The very thin plastic wrap that go around the utensils.
Oh, yeah. Like the little plastic baggy things.
Is that plastic bag or is that, because it used to be that said that paper, that some of that, like the windows of envelopes were paper supposedly.
I don't, it would depend on the individual case.
So, yeah.
Hard to say, a blanket term.
Anyway, so
Yeah,
there's unfortunately too much reversal.
Yeah, and so that's something that I'm also hoping if I'm able to line up some consulting resources to help us do kind of like a reversal snapshot, and kind of see how far back have we slid.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Since COVID, I think a lot of grocery stores are just giving you the bags and not really pushing back on those.
Sorry, Chair Clark.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, we didn't have a queue. You were good. You were fine.
I waited. I guess I just wanted to follow up on the go forward plan. Once you've gotten the language approved, Scour will discuss it and then it will come back to the commission.
So I believe so. I would love to get this for an April council date. So the commission
That's what I was
would,
thinking about.
the commission would be able to see it. I might have had to submit the staff report by then, to the council, but it doesn't mean we couldn't change it. So, because I would love to get this on the April 25th council meeting date, which is after our next commission meeting. So the commission would be able to see it again.
Okay.
And discuss. Because we could always pull it from the council agenda if the commission decides they hate it.
I think the goal of getting it to the council in April is a good one. But, if we can't meet as a commission before then, there may be some way to, convey that information. Scour will meet the first week in April. So that would,
Yeah, Scour will definitely have like a good bite at it, for sure.
and it's really not that controversial. I think we all agree on what's coming. It's just making sure that the language is correct, so.
Which, just to re-summarize, because I know we've talked about a lot of things, is adding the polystyrene coolers to the ban on what can be sold.
Right.
When we are talking about the single-use plastic bags, we are talking from food places only, right?
Correct.
Not Ross or.
Correct, yeah, that is all that is addressed in the scope of this ordinance. Question?
I hate to bring up, you said polystyrene coolers and then that reminded me, Well, from what I'm hearing is these meals, the meal services where you get a box of meals, those are coming in questionable materials.
Okay. Like
That's not something.
Like
we
the
can
online
have.
meal kits,
So what?
like the online meal kits?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm not sure what we could do about that.
That's a good question. I am also not sure what we can do about that, but it's something I'll check with, in drafting with the city attorney's team, just to see. We do have regulations in the existing text that apply to, like third-party delivery, like DoorDash and, I don't know if I'm saying what's there, but, so that is covered. Whether it's being implemented is, I think, a little bit more spotty, but it is available. So I can check on it.
I just wanted to add, like, are we implementing the same rules to the Meals on Wheels program or any other senior food delivery programs and some other programs like food distribution to unhoused people? Because I see a lot of styrofoam uses over there.
Yeah, so technically those are covered under this ordinance. In terms of enforcement, I think we've been prioritizing the sort of like the larger volume businesses and things like that. We do not currently have any hardship exemptions that are available at this point, with the exception of something relating specifically to healthcare. There were exemptions that were available in the first year of the ordinance implementation, and those are under the current draft, or not draft, the current ordinance, there are no more exemptions that are allowed. So that's something that, should the commission want to take it up, or the council, but it's also something that we're helping to continue to support those organizations to move away from the styrofoam. Ideally getting to a reusable model, especially with some of those closed loop systems, that's really where we want to get. But that's a pretty big transition and will require, definitely not something that we're going to be able to do before we get our waste person on board.
So we'll target getting this to the council in April.
Correct.
Okay, so just doing a time check, it's 7 o'clock, we still have a few items left on our agenda, those are important items, but let's just try to move through them as quickly as we can, so. And then the next item under old business is Earth Day month 2024.
Great, so I think my slides are a little out of order, so I'm just gonna jump to those. We'll be fast about this. And thank you, I know you have to leave.
Yeah, oh, wait.
We'll be really fast. Okay, so we're gonna talk about some of the stuff we're doing for Earth Day. It is mostly baked, kind of, so you'll hear about that. So please forgive me, I didn't want to do this forever. So shredding an e-waste event is happening on April 20th. This is the most baked of the things that will be accepted at this. So due to the ongoing problem of shredding being really popular in the valley and not that many providers being here, we were not able to get a higher number of boxes that would be accepted for shredding at the day of the event, because we'll only have 2 trucks. However, we're working on setting up a pre-shredding option with monitored bins that will be available here at City Hall if people want to drop things off early and not come on the day of the shredding. We're working on, and I don't know, everybody's gonna wanna do that, we won't be able to shred it on site those days, but if you wanna come, and if there's something where you're like, I wanna shred it, but if it's in a bin in a locked room, I'm fine. Maybe there's things like that you feel that way about, we will probably have that available. I don't wanna guarantee it yet, since we're trying to work it out, but we will send out a notice if that's gonna be available. E-waste will be accepted, as will any bulky items. Please do not bring light bulbs. Light bulbs are considered hazardous waste, not e-waste. We often deal with a lot of light bulbs and we end up having to pay like $300 to $400 extra to process all the light bulbs. We do have a support request for that day, which is 1 or 2 commissioners to help with kind of flow, answering questions, etc. Commissioners Clark and Barrett have both done this in the past, and I think are both expert at it and could tell you about how it goes. Depending on how long the line is, it can be either assuaging feelings, or it can be mostly just kind of trying to get people not to run each other over. In the interest of time, think about it, let me know if you want to do it. Next, induction.
Yes. So I thought it would be a really fun event to have an induction cooking demo. And so the main purpose of this demo would be to inform the community about the benefits of induction cooktops, but also getting them to think about induction cooking as well as other energy efficient home upgrades. The date and location is to be announced. I'm still working with an organization and a company to finalize the date and location for this event. And there's gonna be free food if that is enticing.
Juliet, now trees.
So for Arbor Day, which is actually the 27th of April, or the 26th, I believe. We will be at the farmer's market on the 20th with West Coast Arborist, which is the city's arborist who maintains the trees, different things like that. So we will be giving out educational material, information, different resources about, planting trees, care for trees, maintaining trees, during that day. And so that will be from 8 AM to 1 PM.
And then finally, trash campaign. So you know how when you see the bus shelters and you're like, wow, that ad has been there since 2019. I'm hoping to take advantage of that by papering all of them with information related to waste. So we're working on getting some creative for this. It is luckily a relatively feasible thing to do financially. And so, because they're really visible, we're really trying to target that kind of like universal awareness of these requirements, which we still kind of have trouble with. You might have somebody who lives in a multifamily complex, they might be new to the city, they might, it's still kind of making sure that everyone has had a chance to have received a piece of information about composting and recycling is hard. So that's why I want to put it out in space, so everyone can see, and there are no excuses. So the specific call to action is forthcoming. We're working with a couple of different local and regional marketing firms to get some ideas for some like fun and engaging ways to do that. But if we can't get that pulled off, you will just see me just writing things. It's like, put the trash in the compost. So that's the plan. That's Earth Day. Questions? Homework?
Can I plug in another?
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot to add that. Yes, please do.
That's right. So I've almost finalized a event on April 24th from 5:30 to 7 at the Duluth Community Center. It's called Hello Darkness, My Old Friend, A Journey into the Totally Dark Night. David Larson, who's a National Park Ranger with Joshua Tree, has accepted to come and speak. It's in conjunction with Oswit. I was trying to get some telescopes and do some dealing, but for safety reasons, that's not gonna happen. But so David Larson from Joshua Tree is gonna come and talk to me. And then he's got a good presentation. He just did something with UCR a couple of weeks ago, so it should be good.
Okay, and let us know how we can support on that here.
So are you going to send, because you went fast, I can get it in my calendar.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's April 24th at I think Oswit's gonna do a formal posting, so I can share that with everyone. But it's from 5:30 to 7 at the Duluth Community Center in their multi-purpose room. I just finalized it today, so.
Thank you, that's great.
And thank you, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on Earth Day? No, then we'll move on to the 1 PS picnic, the last item under old business. We don't have Liz.
Yeah, that's okay, we'll be fast. So this is basically just a recap of what we discussed the last time, if I can get the slide to stop on the right slide. Okay, so I just wanted to confirm that my notes were correct as to who was gonna be where, when. I know I also got some updates from folks about schedule, and I will be honest that I'm not sure where we landed on some of this stuff. So I just want to double check and let me move our faces so you can see. So this is a very badly drawn, not to scale, probably inaccurate, picture of what the 1 PS picnic is going to look like. But what I do know is that there's gonna be areas with booths, and then there's the picnic zone. These are supposed to be the 4 vendors where you get the food. These are like people eating it. And then the stars are imagined waste receptacles. So right now I've got Commissioner Strick and Forster in the morning, is that correct? Okay, yeah, thank you. Commissioner Forster's not here, but I can double check with them later today. Y'all are gonna be posted up in the picnic zone. So kind of just like find a waste station and linger near it. I'm gonna be kind of keeping an eye on things outside of the picnic zone. If anybody brings a water bottle out and tries to put it in the trash, that will be my moment. So really kind of keeping an eye on the food area. So that 11 to 12:30 is that first half, and then I've got Commissioners Rottner and Barrett in the second half. Is that accurate? Did I miss anyone? Does anybody else wanna come, who's not coming, who wants to look at trash?
It'll be there,
That's true, yeah, I know we have a lot of people who are doing other things at the picnic, so didn't wanna put anybody else on the list. I think we should get it.
And I'll be there as a floater to do whatever
Excellent,
is necessary.
thank you, I have you in floating category, so thank you. Okay,
I will be there as a floater also, just not sure exactly where I'm going.
that makes sense.
I'll be there.
Then feel free to find us on the day. Yeah, I know we have a lot of one PS commissioners, overlap, so understand and thank you everyone for your time. So, I will also send this out to everybody, so y'all know this, but I wanted to just make a quick advice guide. My recommendation for this is that we offer or wait to be requested for advice as opposed to trying to correct people. So I could, I was kind of imagining myself in this situation, seeing someone putting a plastic water bottle in the trash can or the composting bin and wanting to leap out of my skin. We're gonna try to keep that impulse, not the dominant one. That one's gonna be underneath. We're gonna think about that one, but we're going to perhaps wait for the puzzled stare that, we've all seen before. Offer, like, would you like some advice on which goes in which container? Can I help you with that sorting? That kind of stuff. Liz's team has also made signs based on what's available at each food vendor, as to what will go in each thing. So those signs will be available as well, which will be helpful. We're gonna be dealing with plastic wrap. We're gonna be dealing with sandwich crusts. We're gonna be dealing with chip bags. We're gonna be dealing with a lot of trash. This is gonna be a little bit depressing. This is gonna be a lot of stuff that can only go in the trash, but that's a problem for next year. We will reflect on this and do better. And so I think, providing expertise and guidance, empathizing, just like, yeah, it's confusing. Like, that tends to work well for this community. And also I would say if you see common mistakes or, things where people seem to be particularly confused, or, everybody's putting the tinfoil in the compost, let's note those things. One question I have is whether people would prefer to write those things down on a piece of paper, if I make a little form, or if you wanna just send me an email or something.
My thought is
Yeah,
most people have a
just
phone.
Yeah.
Just make a note to yourself.
Yeah. You can
So that we can then have some sort of report about what we saw and what was going wrong.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe just note it down on your phone, text it to me or whatever. So we'll go through that, on day itself. I do have, bright turquoise blue shirts for everyone that are supposed to have screen printing done by Thursday. I am not sure it's going to happen. We will have the physical shirts regardless, and they will look on purpose. So, but you might have to wait for your screen printing for the next day. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Just a comment, this is an ongoing thing that we've been working on for many years. Particularly with regard to trash and recycling containers downtown and trying to get people to put the proper thing in the proper container. We just felt within Scour that this is a good opportunity for a combined event to have good signs, to have people walking around trying to encourage and help people, just to educate them to some extent, but also to give us feedback in terms of how people react when they go up to a container. Maybe they were puzzled, but how they react to our help as well. So I think this will be a really good experiment and something that the Scour will probably discuss afterwards.
I second that. Let's be good detectives, but don't interfere.
Yeah, don't take something out of someone's hand and put it in another thing. Okay, great. That's it.
Okay. So the final item in the agenda is commissioner comments and upcoming agenda. The first thing I'd like to touch upon is, or go back to, is the windmill tour. If anybody has thought about it during had time to think about it during the meeting, to come up with a suggested day and time or days and times, to get back to the WinTech people. So, and is there any way we can put a calendar up on the screen?
I'm just gonna pull up a calendar so you don't have to see the nightmare that is our calendars.
You know, see my calendar.
Yeah, I know, I peeped at it, intense, if I could spell it out.
Like I suggested before, we not look at April because of earthquake and things going on that week. Commissioner Cole.
Years ago, Lisa Middleton, when she was on chair of 1PS, organized, a bus load of us. It's really fascinating and I'm sure this many years later, it's, probably going to be significantly different because they were tearing down the old ones or pulling those out. And so it should look fascinating.
And I was on that one too. It was fascinating. I would encourage everybody to go.
So I'm definitely I live right by the windmills. I've always wanted to do a tour. For me, Wednesdays and Fridays work best. And Wednesday afternoon and Friday afternoon should be more accurate for free for me.
How about the rest of you? Or, I know some people work and that's a problem.
You're specifically saying May, correct?
I suggested May, and actually, if you look at May, SCOUR meeting is on the first.
May 2nd.
Second.
Thursday.
Excuse me, the Thursday.
Yeah.
The waste reduction meeting is on the 8th, excuse me, the climate action meeting is on the 8th.
Oh.
And then the commission meeting isn't until the 21st, so there's a weekend there when there aren't any commission related meetings, so that's. why I
12
was
to
thinking about it.
18. 12 to 18 is the week we don't have
Right.
any.
That's right, so that might be a good one, a good week, and we got a suggestion for
For many
Wednesday,
of us,
Friday afternoons.
for many of us, one PS is on the 14th.
Okay.
So maybe the 17th.
May 17th. I have nothing on the 17th. It's a Friday.
You don't want it on, I'm sorry, is that a yes or a no? You don't like
Yeah,
that?
that he mean, he likes it.
Friday,
You like Friday.
17th,
Yeah, that's the work.
17th afternoon,
every
Is that-
afternoon.
Does that not work for anyone?
I can do it.
I can do it.
It'll be cooler in the morning.
Oh, well,
Yeah, it will be.
morning,
warm by
I
then.
think it'll be wrong, but because it's that far out, I can do that.
Okay, we've had a preference for afternoons, so.
Okay.
I'm wondering-
Well,
Off.
the only thing I have on that particular Friday is my chiropractor, but I could move that.
Okay,
You let me know.
okay, so.
I won't be able to walk.
When we are saying morning, Commissioner Clark, what time? Because I work from like 6:30 to 9:30 or so I can catch you guys. Drive safe and catch you guys if you want to do.
Well, what about 10 o'clock?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, then that's good.
yeah, I don't get up till 10 o'clock. Right.
I know that, but you can do it.
So it's looking like we're focusing down on May 17th, which is a Friday at 10 o'clock.
How long is the tour?
I would expect it would be a couple of hours,
Right.
and I think we would meet someplace and get on a bus. And then.
Be at
Yeah.
City Hall, come back at City Hall,
Yeah,
people park
We
area,
met
park
here, in that,
Yeah, I think that's what we did before.
back by lunchtime.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And this applies to all the staff and all the commissioners as well. So I will propose May 17th, Friday at 10 AM. And if that someone doesn't work, could afternoon be okay?
Yes.
Great, thanks very much. And I guess why don't we go around the table and see if there are any suggestions for topics for the next meeting? Actually, I'm gonna bring up a couple first because, uh, Vice Chair Barrett and Director McCoy and, Specialist Wheeler and I meet after these meetings to plan agendas for future meetings, and we're kind of focusing on, actually for special topics, discussion about education and compliance regarding the gas powered leaf blower ban and, window bird strike prevention that Commissioner Frick would present. So we're tentatively planning on those for the next meeting, special presentations, special discussions. We'll go around the table and see if there's anything else, so. Commissioner Frick. Commissioner Green.
You're just any open discussion, nothing we're adding to any of future agendas or anything.
Well-
I have something I wanna.
Additional topics, not, if you'd like it for the next meeting or for a future meeting, that's something that we discuss and plan as well. So,
Those two items were on the list, yeah.
yes, those have been on the list that we send out every month.
Right. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Let's move forward with those.
I'm fine, I'm good.
I reinforce doing something about fireplaces,
About what?
fireplaces, wood smoke.
Wood smoke?
Wood
Wood
smoke.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing that within the subcommittee.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanna make sure that's.
Yes, we'll continue to work. Commissioner Alexander.
So there was Paul Henderson put out a next door asking about comments about the composite pails.
Oh, the competition.
And I kind of wanted to discuss that because about 3 or 4 questions came up that I think maybe I'll get educated that people had. I don't think it'll be a long discussion.
Mhm. Okay. Is that something we could do in Scour first, or I know you?
Yeah.
You could,
Are you said you wanted to join Scour, is that?
there was the water,
Okay, but we can do that also in the
you just let me know when you're having your next meeting.
first Tuesday of the month,
First Thursday.
Thursday.
First
Thank you.
Thursday of every month.
And there goes that calendar again. What time?
2:30.
Well, you're in May, so you probably, if you wanna go in April.
Well, it's gonna be the same thing because I had,
Well, we could always begin the discussion there and then we can make like a fact sheet or something and then we can bring the conversation to the full.
yeah, because I have a 2:30. I should just
Thanks,
destroy that calendar.
We can always approve it as part of the Scour discussion in the commission meeting as well.
We do that.
What I'll do is send you questions.
So you'll get some information to Commissioner.
I'll give it to Lindsay, questions I have, and she can
Okay. Commissioner Call?
Nothing.
Commissioner Duda?
Shade structure, I think that's, like to more be up and category.
And that's something we have on our ongoing list, is just doing this monitoring what Parks and Recreation is doing and so forth, but, it's something that, we will bring up as we get information as needed. Sounds good. I just wanted to clarify, the tree ordinance will be coming back to us at some point, but probably not in April.
I don't think so, but I don't think so.
Okay.
That's a lot of confidence behind that.
I don't know anymore. It's been a really long day.
And at some point, and perhaps at the April meeting, we can also talk about the, 1PS trashing, recycling and composting experience. That'll be a good time for us to have a group discussion. Okay, if there's nothing else, then, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? No?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
These are good.
At about 7.
But there was one thing that I wanted to let everybody know, and that's where I was kind of confused. May 7th and 8th is Safe Growth SEPSEC, which is crime prevention through environmental design. Their convention is coming here. Unfortunate, I had already booked my vacation and I get back that morning on the 8th. So I will get the agenda, Mr. Wheeler. Yes. Of what, and I'm sure you probably will, maybe, right? LB? You get their agenda, what the convention is.
Not for all of them, but as a matter of course, but we can keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
LP, I won't be attending on April 16th.
And
Okay, no
so
problem.
I.
Sounds good. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah. Okay.
How are you?
I'll be out of
I will not be able to-
Thank you.